Good evening. It's time to learn some Haskell. Last week I was working on this program to select one of my colleagues at random to talk to, and I was refactoring it a bit to try and add some subcommands to it and then move those subcommands into a nicer structure. And I got a bit frustrated, I think, and it didn't go particularly well, which I guess is part of the learning process. When you're learning a new language, I guess something as complicated as Haskell, it's inevitable that some stuff is going to be a bit difficult and a bit frustrating. So hopefully that was a bit of a blip and this week will be better, but we'll see how it goes. I don't really know yet. Let's pick up then from last week. So the key thing I did last week is I moved all the commands into here. And I had this kind of idea of, rather than just having a function which would look at the commands, no, so it wouldn't look at commands, it would look at the list of arguments that you provide to the program and then pattern match inside that list. That's kind of the implementation detail of how this is going to work. But what I really wanted was a more declarative way of saying these are the commands that are part of this program. And then I could, in the main file, I could declare them here, and then I can just pass them into run command, which can deal with that declarative style of saying this is what we're matching. I had an idea that I really wanted to use semigroup for doing this. I guess you'd say something like, command 1, and you'd configure this somehow, and then you just join it. So that would give you a command parser, or something that can handle these commands for you. And you join to another thing, which you configure command 2, and that gives you the same type of thing. It gives you some kind of command parser, which now I can identify command 1 and command 2. And then because it's the same thing, you can just keep adding onto it. So you can just say command 3 somehow. So I think in my mind, this is what I wanted to do, but I just couldn't get my head around how I would approach it. And one of the problems I had is, when you create something like this, like a default command, and then you try and use semigroup on top of that, and then you pass another command here. The problem with that is that this data type that I declared is not something which is a parser or a group of parsers, whatever. It's just a single instruction to say, parse this default thing. So I felt like I was missing something, and I went and had a look at a library called optparse-applicative, which is complicated. It would implement this really well. It would be a good choice to do here, but I want to kind of keep working through this to try and get it working myself before maybe next week I'll come and swap it out, or at some point in the future I'll swap it out and use a proper library. But for now, I want to keep struggling through this, I think, until I get it in the form that I want. But I looked at optparse-applicative, and pretty much straight away I thought, oh, I can see the problem here. The place where it's going wrong last time, and it's, in essence, it's because I'm creating, in this case, a list, but of these these types. I'm using a type constructor here, and actually, if I used a function here, I wouldn't need to wrap this in a list. It could set up one of these things for me, and also put it in a structure. So maybe put it into a list or put it into a map or something like that. And then I can just make that a semigroup. So like in essence, what you'd maybe say is something like default command. This is not a function, rather than explicitly calling the constructor. Show current, and this could return something. If I can type properly, a default command. This can return something which is semi-groupable, which is a semigroup. So then I can say, or a command, or join that to a command, which is list, which calls list, and so on. Not like that. Don't use data constructor. I can use a function, because this is function programming language, obviously. So this can return some kind of structure with the default command inside it, and then I can join it to this, which would be another structure with this command inside it, and then I could keep going. So that's what I'm going to try and implement this week. Just to show you where I stole it from, actually, let's go and have a quick look at optparse-applicative. Oops. If I can find it. Should load this in advance, I guess. So it does a lot of things. They're actually using semigroup in here to create options. As the name would suggest, it is applicative. So these things are quite complicated. I think these are themselves are applicative, and then they're joining to other complicated options or well-described command line options. But it was when I looked at this straight away, I was like, oh, I see. They're taking something and they're joining. You know, they're creating functions. They're calling functions which are returning the things which themselves are either a semigroup or applicative. And joining that. So I want to do something kind of similar, I think, but simpler, much simpler. So if I go into my commands program module, I think I can simplify a lot of this as well, incidentally, along the way. But we have this data type, which is command, which has got these different constructors. So you can construct it with default command or command to command with args. And that's what's being exported up here. So we're exporting that entire data type. And then the only thing we're exporting here is the function to actually run stuff. But what I could maybe do is create another data type. We can call this command list or command parser or something like that, or commands. That's a bit too similar. I'd probably misread that. And for now, actually, what we could say that this is just a list of commands. Right, let's just do that as data, not data, sorry, type for now, because we haven't got, so I'm just saying up as nail list for now. It is just literally a list of commands. We might come back and change the type in future, but I just need something for now to act as that kind of a container for me, the thing that's going to hold all the commands that we're going to be parsing later. Okay, so I said that it already implements semigroup because it is a list. How do I show that? How do I check that? I can go stack REPL. If I just look for info of, can I say that? I can indeed. Okay. Okay, so it's got instant monoid, but down here instant semigroup already. So I don't need to implement this myself. I might do if I come back and make it more complicated, or change the data type. But for now, we can say that because this is literally a list of commands, we get semigroup for free. So what we can then do is we can say, we can create a new function called default command, which is going to take an action, and it's going to return this command list. So default command of A for my action. What's this going to be? It's just going to be that. It's not going to be that. Sorry. I actually need to construct it. I need to turn it into one of these commands. Here we go. And then we can do the same thing for the other data types. So we can say, we can just say command, hopefully. And that's going to go from a string to action to command list. And command of name and action is just one of these things. So it's command name action. And then you can say command with args. It's going to take just a string and an action and return a command list. And then command with args. Not tremendously exciting here, but name and an action again, and it's going to just return command with args. NA. Auto state that. What's his problem here? Couldn't match type IO with auto state to IO. Why on this line? I'm not sure I see what's different here. Oh, because it's action with args, that's why. Confusing error message, but there we go. Yeah, so it needs to be, that's right, it needs to be an action which takes a list of strings as well as the action. Okay, so now that we have these, we can first of all export them. I'm no longer going to export this data type, so you don't call it directly, but you can call default command or command, or command with actions, with args, sorry, with args. Okay, and it's no longer going to take a list of commands, but it's not going to take it literally. It's not going to be command list. Okay, go back to main. This should no longer work. But we can say default command joined with command joined with command with args joined with command. Like that. I'm surprised it hasn't complained more. We import commands. Yeah, this is, it's gotten very confused up here, so we just delete all this. And then I'm going to go into file. It wants to know what type this is, and it's actually command list, so we might need to export that. It's a bit annoying. I was hoping we wouldn't have to, but I mean, we don't have to. I suppose it could work it out, but yeah, for now, let's be explicit about the typing. So we'll set it up here, and then need to import all of these. Right, join that line. Will it save it? No, it wants to lay it out like that. Yeah, it's fine. Right, so it's not radically different. I'm just going to make sure it still runs. Stack run. Compiles and tells me who the next person is, and I can do stack run list, different commands, and it should do that. Yep, including Beppy, obviously. And what else can we do? We can do adds and next. So next should take us to Fran, I think. Yep, cool. Okay, so yeah, not radically different, but I think a better foundation for where I want to to go with this. I might actually change this type name. I think command list is a bit tied to the implementation at the moment. So one of the things I'm thinking I can do is I can just make some more complex type and then simplify these kind of matchers. So rather than just walking through a list and then trying to spot stuff inside it, I'm thinking maybe we could have a more structured type, like a record, for example, where if we want the default action, we just ask for it. Or maybe also a map of some kind, because we're looking stuff up by the name of the action, or the name of the command, sorry, and then acting that. So rather than trying to pattern match inside a list, we could maybe put it inside a map and just ask it for the value for that key. But to do that, I'd need to start rewriting this type, and then that means that this name becomes a little bit wrong. So can I rename this? No. I could rename it like this, I guess. So I might just change this to be commands. That wasn't very successful. Let's try it again. No, maybe not WE. That's better. Change that to the commands. And did it get the export? Yeah, I got the export as well. Cool. So we go back to main. Now this becomes commands. And it's probably broken up here. Yep, because I can no longer import this. Commands. Just make sure it still builds. I think it should be fine. If it's already in the library and it's managed to build it. Cool. Just that for a second. Okay, so now we can try and, I say we, I mean me, but I can try and make this type a bit more useful. So we could turn it into a record. That's maybe the first thing we could do. So we can put default. Oops, I need the name of the constructor here. And we might have default. Not like that. Default is just an action. And then what else can we have? We could have commands, which for now we'll just have a list of commands. Should we do that? What are we doing? Let's have a list of tuples where we go name action. I shouldn't call this default. And I shouldn't call default command because that clashes as well. In fact, all these things clash. And let me just call it D and C's. Okay. Name is not the right thing. It's a string. Okay. So this is where I want to store my commands. So my default command will return commands where D is this action was passed in, and C's is empty. Okay, and then command here, we will say it'll return string of type commands, where D, this is interesting actually, it's not an action, it's a maybe action, because we might not have a default. So then it'll be just A. So commands would say D is nothing, and C's is a list containing, these are tuples now, so NA. And command with args is going to be similar. In there, it's well, that's tricky actually. I'm going to need to store this separately, I think. Commands with arguments, and again, that's going to be string to action. Everyone's going to get upset now. Okay, so commands with arguments, again, an empty list. Commands with arguments is an empty list. And here, commands is empty list, and commands with arguments. That, oops, commands with arguments is that. It's not action, this is action with args. Okay. Now things get broken down here, but it's like the whole point of this was to try and make this easier. So nothing, that is if we have no subcommand. Oh, I forgot to put this in the state. I might let build out the state in a second. Something should be there. In fact, maybe no. Let's keep going with this, and then we'll go back and tie that up. So S is our subcommand here. No, actually, that's not true. This is our subcommand. So if there is no subcommand, that means we were called without any arguments. Then we want to take the default from our command, but we didn't call it default, we call it D of our command. So that goes back the maybe action. And then say from maybe. Yeah, can I say from maybe? And you give it a default, so you say usage. It's not gone very well, has it? Let me just jump to here for a second. It's something like from maybe. Let me try that, see if it's right. A to maybe A to A. So it takes default value and the maybe value. If maybe it's nothing, it returns default, otherwise it turns the thing contained in there. That's what I wanted, I think. So maybe it seems to be correct. Oh, okay. So this is the function that we need to call. So this goes by the action, and we then call that on S. So either we're going to get back the default command if one's been created, and if one hasn't been created, then we're just going to use usage. I need to throw out in a second. Okay. And then we can say, sorry, just SC is probably still what we want. So now what we want to do is look it up in the commands. Yes, so we get back to commands. Actually, we want to search in there. So we want to find it. Sorry, we're going to get back a list and we want to look it up by SC. Right, so we need to say something like find SC in there. Is find a command? A function, sorry. Find, we need the function first and then the foldable, and then we get a maybe a back. Okay. I'm going to try and not mess this too much, but we'll see what happens. So case find, and then the function. So we're going to get back this tuple named something. And then you can say name is equal to that. Oops. Can you get that? Sorry. And the thing we're looking for is called X. Name is equal to X. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. So we got A to bool, is that right? So A in this case will be one of the commands, which is just going to be this. You're not given an X, but we're going to say name is equal to CS. And that's going to return either the name we were looking for and the action. Now, if that's the case, then we call action on S. Nothing. We'll just keep doing this, so we'll find we'll look up by name in CWAS, and this will give us, sorry, we're going to look it up in, okay, subcommand is what we're looking for. We're going to look up the command with arguments of commands. I'm going to tie this up in a minute because I can simplify it a bit. But if we find that, then actually we don't need to do the case here because we can use from maybe again because we have a default in this case. So from maybe usage or, oh no, it needs a bit more work. Let me write out long ways first, then we'll come back. So if we did find something in here, then we want to call it, so this is A. The first thing it takes is args S, and the second thing it takes is S. And then nothing is usage. Okay, now we'll start to usage, yes, sorry. Right, let's work through the errors that come up. So it couldn't match. Oh, it's n is equal to that. No, run out of errors. Okay. Right. This is way too nested, and we can come back and sort it in a second. I just want to see if it works first. Let's come back here. Oh yes. So we have our own timeline, but we don't have an instance of semigroup on it yet. So I need to add that. So I need to think about how do we join these together. So you have one command with the maybe filled, maybe not, I don't know. You've got commands which may or may not be empty, commands with actions which may or may not be empty. So we can work out some rules for joining those things together. For instance, is it this way around? No, instance semigroup. Commands where? Then I think I have to give a definition of this. I'm going to wrap that up like that. Okay, place with semigroup, that's good. Okay, so the type of this is going to be from commands to commands. So we take A and B, X and Y. Cooler, isn't it? Okay. So we're going to return a new command object, I think, or actually we can do. I mean, naively, you could try that. No, you can try that. Sorry, I'm going to return new commands object. And in here we can say d equals resolve d. Commands is resolve commands, and commands with args is resolve commands with args. And now to work these things out, where in fact they have all got different types, so it will be actually resolve D and resolve commands and resolve commands with args. And then we say resolve D is equal to we kind of want a d of x. I don't know how this works on a maybe type. Could you do this? No. Wait a second, this D does not exist. This does not exist. That doesn't exist. Okay. Get rid of one set of brackets, set up the warning. Get rid of both sets of brackets. Resolve CS equal to CS of X or CS of Y, and resolve commands with args of X, join to commands with args of Y. I don't know if that works or not. Mostly I don't know how the maybe type works. So let's just jump here and we can say stack REPL. I'm just curious as to how semigroup is implemented on maybe type. So maybe one join to maybe, no, say just one, sorry. Join to just two. I'm hoping it's just one. No. Maybe int. Okay. So the semigroup needs to be callable, I think, on the type here. So we do A with just B. Yeah, that's really not what we want. Okay, so it would kind of be okay if one of them is nothing. Because if you have the default set in the first set of commands but not in the second, then you just want whichever one that's set in. And presumably if you swap this around, so you can say nothing there, it's just going to pick up the just A. Does this work with any type in there? No, because semigroup was not implemented on integers. Okay. Semigroup is probably not implemented on actions either, so this isn't going to work. What I really want though is not semigroup action. I don't want to join together in any sense. I just want to pick the first one that's set, or the last one that's set, but probably the first one would make more sense to me. So what I want to do is let's go from maybe and then have a look at that module. I'm pretty sure there's going to be something in there which is going to pick out the first one for me. A default value of function and then maybe value. No, it just returns the first true. No, I would just we could maybe go from list of maybes and try and find the first one inside there. So cat maybes. Let me try it out actually and see if, well, ideally see if the language server suggests a better solution, but if not, we can just leave it. So results where d of x, was there something called is just? I forget that already. Yeah, it's just. Apply to d of x. Sorry, d of x is d of x, and then another guard equals not, sorry. Otherwise is d of y, whatever that happens to be. Okay. So what we're saying here, we're given two things joined together. Look in the first one that has a default, use the default from that. Otherwise, use default from second. I actually think I'd rather take the last one. So if you override the default, in the second command list you're passing in, if you're setting default there, then you override the previous default. Otherwise, we just take whatever's there before, which could be nothing. Okay, so we've implemented our semigroup. Let me just check the logic for this. So commands, it's a list. We just join the list together. Commands actions, same thing. We just join this together. Okay, that's no longer complaining. So does it build? I should say stack run. We'll compile it and then try and run it, see what happens. It should tell me who the current person is. That's cool. And then we run list. Does that. Okay, cool. So now, can we go back here? And I want to get rid of this kind of with args. So there's a way of taking commands and turning them into there's a way of taking commands with args and turning them into commands, and that's by partially applying the first argument. And the first argument is all the other actions. Sorry, all the other command line arguments. My editor skills are low tonight. Now we go to closing brace. That's opening brace, that's what's happening. If we go to closing brace, there we go, we delete. Go to closing brace to delete, so that's all good. Now this is the trickier one. So I'm going to say commands is this, but we need to partially apply it. And what can we partially apply it to? We need to get access to the state somehow, or the other arguments. Args. Let's see, that's going to be tricky actually, because this is going to be a little bit tricky here. So I was hoping I could just get the other arguments and partially apply them here. So if you say args, you could say something like, where args is the tail of get args, but I can't call get args because that needs to be under IO. And we're not under IO at this point. I don't want to put it under IO. So that's not cool. Can I make this? I can't make this an optional type. But is there a thing like that I could do? These don't have unique constructors, so I can't really do that, can I? These are just straightforward type aliases. And they're different types, and I can't make this two types without introducing something like this. Okay, we're not using this anywhere. So let's do that, and let's make this command. This doesn't make sense anymore. Okay, so we have a command. We'll put this in as command A. What's the same? This error message is all of this. And this is command with args A. And actually, we can just drop a string out of that. We don't need that anymore, I believe. Yeah. Okay, now we have a problem because this is no longer the action. So we're going to look in this list of commands. I'm going to look it up by name on the first field in this tuple. If we find it, what we're going to get back is actually a command. So it's going to be just command A would be that, and then just command with args A is A applied to args, S applied to S, commands with typos, and nothing, which is show usage. It's a little bit better, I think. It's a little bit long, but it's better. Okay, so we're trying to find subcommand. If it's nothing, there's no subcommand, then we use the default or we show usage. If there is a subcommand, we look it up on a list of commands. If we find it in its commands, then we run it. Find it in its command with args, and we run it, but with the args. And if we don't find it, then we show usage. So I think that should work. Oops. We click and see. Yeah, it still works. So that's cool, I think. We can fix usage as well, incidentally. So we could say stack run something that doesn't match, and it's asking it for usage. I'm actually going to change this a bit. So we're going to say we'll take commands because we want that to look it up, and we'll print out the action. So that's upset because of that, and this is upset because I need to pass in the commands. And here I need to pass in commands. Okay. So now I'm going to do something a bit cleverer, I think. So we print usage. We call it auto. Right. And then I think I want to show the list of commands. Like subcommands. So where subcommands is the commands from C Okay, and that's going to give us the names and then the commands themselves. So we can just call fmap first over those. Ooh, fancy. Because it's a functor, we can just apply first over the list. And it's going to give us back a list of names, and then maybe we could join them with some kind of comma. Can you, is there a thing called join? It'd be a similar place to unlines. I want like uncommas or an unsplit. No. Unlines. Unlines go string to string. On words does it with spaces. Okay, I want something that does it with an arbitrary thing, so I want a list of strings to that. Is onward really trivial to implement? I guess it is. Oh, someone must have implemented this somewhere useful. What else is on lines? Data.string. And words on words lines from string is string string. That's really annoying. Data list. That's not going to have a special thing, is it? No. It's lots of zips. Okay. Okay, so we apply first of this and we get a list of strings back, and then we want to say something like I'm just going to call it join. And join of that is the empty string, and join of x's is folder. What was the implementation I was stealing? Just going to look it up and steal it properly. Folder 1. Okay, and they call it words, which is a nicer name, isn't it? Except we're not going to separate with that, we're going to separate with pipes or something. Why not that? I don't understand this. So oh, join might be special. If I call this instead of join, if I call this like unpipes. Oops, unpipes. Yeah, so join was special. That's why I was complaining. Okay. Right, so if I run this now, will it give me a more useful usage line? Yes. So that's kind of cool. Well, no, it's not great, but it's a start. And then we can say something like subcommand. All right, let's make this a bit funkier. So we can print that out. And then we can put strlen subcommands. So I think what we're going to do is we want to say show command of C is so C is going to be, C is a command here. So if it's some name and commands whatever, what I might do is do indent by a tab. Oh, actually, it's still by a few spaces. And then we'll put the name, and then show command n and command with args is some spaces, and then name, and then we'll say you get some args with that. So instead of mapping first over this, we can map show command. And we will, instead of unpiping it, we will unlines it. So this is a multiple lines now. Okay, let's see if that's any nicer. Yeah, might just put an extra blank line in there, but yeah. So usage, that and subcommand, where subcommands are list, add, and args. So we'll put a blank line, strlen, and then we will put strlen, we say options, subcommands. Let's call them commands. But yeah, just playing with the format, it's not that important. Okay. That's cool. We could maybe give some name to the default so that we could show it up here usefully somehow. Or maybe some help message, but I don't think it's worth doing at this point. So we jump back here. Have we got any commands we haven't added? So we've got list, add, next, show. I think there's only ones, aren't they? Show, list, add, next. Yep. I wonder I might stop there because it's working. I just run away. I think this is a bit hard to read, but it's all right. Yeah, okay. A bit happy with this. All right, so it lets me separate the way I'm storing commands from the way I'm declaring them here. So I could change the implementation behind the scenes, but not have to change this at all. we now have a more structured type, so matching defaults and non-defaults is slightly easier. We could start to extend this, so we could say, as well as taking an action, we're going to maybe take an action and we take a string, which is the description. And then obviously we would need to go back to main and change it, but you wouldn't need to care about how we store it inside here. Oh, this has crashed. Yep. And yeah, by implementing semigroup, we just have a way of saying when you create one of these commands, you can join it onto any more of these commands. And here are the rules for joining them, which are kind of okay. Some of the naming's a bit horrible, but it's always the case when I'm writing code, wishing you know to name things. I think, just out of curiosity, if I change this actually from the default to be an explicit command, call it show, and then run it without any arguments, I think it should show me the usage. Just check that works okay. Yep, that works okay. And then last test I'm going to do is, so if we start with a command, and then the last thing's the default. Default command, isn't it? Then that should show the current, making sure that I can put default anywhere. Yeah, and then I just check the semigroup implementation of default. So, oops, it doesn't take lists at the moment. What I think should happen is it should still show the current, because the first default should have been overridden by the second. Cool, it's listing it. So put this all back to where it was. Which is the way I want it. Cool. Okay, so go back here. So what I've done tonight is I've refactored commands to be a new type, implementing semigroup. I don't really mind, it's too long. There we go. Cool, so a bit of progress. I think it worked pretty well. I prefer this implementation. So now we can just declare the commands like this. Yeah, so maybe next week, what I might do, maybe next week, I want to move some of this stuff out of the state. You see here, it's been given the state, and it is using the state will have got the what's it got inside it? It's got the list of args, and it's got the subcommand already parsed into it. I'd like to lift it out of the state because it's not really the state's job anymore. I'll put it into here. There's a couple of commands I'd like to add still. So I'd like to say command, what was it? Reschedule or pause or skip. I think it was skip I want to call it. Which I need to implement. So that's the idea that when you get to someone and it's not convenient to speak to them next, that you can skip them and it just pushes them down the list. And then like we have add, we probably want to remove. The command is args. Remove. So yeah, see if we can do this next week. But yeah, I think that's pretty good for tonight. Happy I got something working, and much better than last week. Cool. So thanks for watching, if anyone is here, and maybe see you next week. Bye.